Monday, October 3rd. Let's get to this. I'll just pretty much start the same format. Let's just keep it pretty simple, more or less. Ooh, my chest is hurting. Let's keep this pretty simple, more or less. Not sure why my chest is hurting. Anyway, so what I want to see, we have three kind of things. This will make more sense if you want to keep watching. Past this, I'll show kind of what we did today and why it'll make a little bit more sense, some of the stuff specifically, especially after I get off the 2 hour. So let's just look at this from a day time frame. It'll make a little bit more sense for now. So I think we have three possibilities from where we're starting, or maybe like five. We'll say how many? One, two, probably like one, two, three, four, five. Five possibilities, I think, of where we'll start tomorrow. That'll kind of define the direction that we go. I think this is really good. I think this is pretty good for what it is. This is really good because this brings us in. Let's just kind of draw this out as a range. Range. This is off a cliff. And then we have this here. I guess technically we have six. So with this, most likely if we start here, we'll trend back up at least a test, and then that gives us a chance to start in here on the day and then branch up in that manner. So that takes off number one. If we do start down here, it's almost assured that we'll just drop off a cliff from here and we're going to Dookie land all the way down. So from here, I think it's pretty likely if we do start here that we'll trend back up and we have another decent chance to fight for this. If we do start in this area from the mid to the top, it's a high chance that we're going to end up pushing down. And you'll see in a second why we don't want to target this area again. So most likely what we'll need to see here is a day start under this, and then we'll just drop off a cliff. And then if we start here, we should engage within this area and then push up. And then so we have this range, and then if we can get a day to start up here, this range. And then likewise, if we do start somewhere up here, this is probably the most difficult day, and I'm not completely sure. So I think some of it will depend on the direction that we take. And so it's really going to be tough where we start. If we look at this kind of as the median line in the middle of this, if we do start if we start on the lower side, the closer to this, the more bearish or the more bullish, and the closer to the top side, the more bullish or the more bearish. I'm sorry. So the issue we have here is for me to like this, and why I think this needs to be good is we need a day that starts above here. And this, like I said, this will make a whole lot of sense once I kind of show. This will make a lot of sense. This will add a little bit more personality and understanding why when we get to a second. But we don't want to just hit here in the beginning of the day because then we can just turn around. Essentially this, like the closer that we start to here, the more likely that it could kind of push up. But at the end of the day, there's not a lot of room, and we want to see the next day start above here. So pushing all the way up here means that we need to end the day. And we'll see, because everything today is kind of another way to look at this. So if we start somewhere down here, we could, the reason why I have more of a, the reason I believe there is a greater chance of us moving up is because we could either push down to just push up because we're so close, the inverse of this essentially, or we could just push up. So if we kind of look at this in another sense, we can just to kind of look at this, we could kind of look at it here. So the same thing, we start way above, and then this is our range. So we could push down. So this is more or less the median line between it. So we could push down, but we're pushing down just to then come back up. So it doesn't really make a huge sense it doesn't really make a huge sense for it to come down, but it doesn't mean it can't come down. It just means that if it comes down, it's probably just going to shoot back up. So from a bear's perspective, you do have to, that is something to consider, because at that point, like it's more of a small position. Depending on what it is, it's not bad. It's just like if you get an option, you could get screwed over in the short term, and you don't want to have to sit through an option for that. But buying spots still makes sense, because then you have to see a day start essentially for us to follow that range. To see what I'm saying, we had a day start here, we had a day start here. And then we were oversold, and on the week we're just kind of coming back. So just to see where we are now, it's made sense that we'd test up from here. You'd rewatch stream if you want. I said 50-50 in the morning. It makes more sense that we're going to push up, because we at least want to test here, and if we reject, we reject. That's why this is so key and so important. So there was a couple other areas in here, and we'll really see how this is really weak, even though this looks fairly strong on the 2 hour. Because what we could see is we come up and test, we come right down to here, we bounce up, we push up to here. There's a little bit of sketchiness. We'll see what happens. But what we can see here from the last 2 hours is this big block is essentially right here. So we have an open space right here. And what we'll see on this 1 hour is also as well, we have quite a bit of open space as well, especially in this area. This is very, very dangerous. There's really not a lot. Honestly, in all of this area, there's really not a lot. This is where most of the action happened. There isn't even really much. Like, I can't even make this smaller if I wanted to. Well, let's see. We could probably look at it from this perspective also as well. Let's see what this shows. This doesn't really change much, but we'll see if this kind of reflects a little bit in that same way. Indicator, where's fixed range volume profile? We'll go to here. We don't need too much more. Yeah, so we can pretty much more or less see what I'm talking about. So once we really enter this area, it's a lot of open space, and there's also, if we look at this here, there's a decent amount of open space here as well. And this is a little bit of the concern if we do have to come back into this area. And the kind of foundation of what I've been talking about for all this other stuff is we want to build good structure, and it's fine if it pushes up, it just can't afford to push back down. And this is the same kind of thing. If we do push up, we need to make sure that we start a day up here. Otherwise, it's going to be crashing down, and it's going to be coming down pretty, whoop, it's going to be coming down in a pretty horrible manner. So really the big thing is we don't want to see it come for this area because it's not like a gap, but to me it's unconfirmed space. So if we want to look at like a gap on a day time frame, to me this is like a gap on a day time frame. That's how I analyze and I assess these things. So that's to make a little bit more sense of why I, if we look on the days also, why I just like to see it start here. A very small gap, really, if anything at all. We can easily just push up from here. This is why if we start higher, there's a huge gap. So maybe we want to come down for the gap. The resistance is up here, or the target to sell is up here, and then wait for the other side. Um, and so on. So it just kind of it just really goes off of that. It's not really too much complicated, so I don't really want to go into it any more than that. What we can see from Bitcoin is this is probably going to be a little bit more difficult without it seeing any direction from the market. I don't think where we are right now is really substantial. If we even go back to the name of the stream today, Live TA Monday, can we retake 142.65 this week? So that really is the goal, is retaking that 142.65. Um, Not even just for the week, but for the decent momentum and direction, I think it'll be pretty determinant for the week. Obviously, we're just looking for a day, and it doesn't solidify us anywhere for the week per se, but it can keep us in a higher range, and it can give us a decent ability to push up. So in the sense, if we can get into this range, this one right here, then it gives us a chance to then fight to get into this range. And ultimately, this looks really horrible. And there's a decent other stuff can happen. I don't want to get into it too much because it's not important. It's not going to shoot all the way up here. We could easily get knocked down here too, which looks reasonable. Like I said, I don't want to get into it too much, but us fighting for here gives us Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, and then maybe it wants to come down Friday or something. So it's not like it's super determinant for the week, but it does give us a couple of days for the week that'll kind of show what we're doing. So let's just go to Bitcoin. We'll kind of go over this. Like I said, there's not really much direction. Where we left off yesterday, in a nutshell for this, we are looking at the week time frame. So we had our 17.8 bounce around here. And so really what the goal was last week for bears, if they wanted to have a continuation downwards, is what the bears needed to do, is we needed a week that started under here. And let's see where the day is also as well. The day is also under here. It was technically here yesterday. So what we could have had is we would have had a, well, technically would have needed to start under here also as well. So this would have been interesting. But um, we needed to push down here to engage us within this range, and then that gives us a resistance on the week to try to push us down farther. And because we didn't get anywhere closer to that, it just is what it is. And when I look at the shorter time frames, it'll make a lot more sense what we were doing. And it made sense why we dropped where we dropped. It was the most surprising thing is that we just didn't have more pressure on where we were. So we break through here. We had the 30th. And so this is Friday. So boom, right here, we end the day. We switch over on the day time frame here. We see this extra sell down. Even though we start under, we see this extra sell down. I don't want to go too much into this, but we can see without having a huge extension down like on a candle right before it, we fall into here. So this is our range. And we can see right here, we bounce, 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 bounce. Well, we fall under. So we see we get some pressure downwards. Okay, we come back up. We can see pressure downwards. Now pay attention to this spot. Let me get rid of this, and then this will make a lot more sense. So the week, like I said, the most surprising thing on the week was that there was an extra bearish pressure, but not the actual movements once we engage in these locations. So what's down here? We have the 2-hour hulls down here. And what else is down here? We have the 4-hour 375 down here also as well. So the reason why, the same thing, just to kind of reiterate what I was saying yesterday, and we could probably even see it here. 18K, been perfect. The market opens, and if the market opens down, or unless we end the 2-hour, 4-hour candles under the respective whole moving averages that are below that price, there's no need to worry. So this is a fairly straight entry, all in this position, more so when it comes down. Um, the key thing to remember here is that we want to see where the day ends. So either here or maybe when it comes down, you could say here on the bounce, but the issue is you don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the candle. Um, so it's like on this candle, maybe you have someone sell all the way down and it ends here. Well, then you're kind of pooped on. So really, to me, this really came about once we had this new day candle. We started the new week, and it was evident that we aren't going to end under anything. So the short spot is right under here. It's both of the 2 hours right there and the 4-hour. So it's it's an incredibly easy short spot to see, and that makes this good because, well, it's going to range here and maybe come down into here and go all the way to 18K. So I don't know how to explain it specifically. There's probably a better way to explain it, but the point of it is this is one of the safest spots because this spot's strong because there's a huge reason also for bulls to not let it fall under here, to fall into these ranges to then cascade down. So you're taking it pretty much at the average or like the best spot. Like think about it like a fib level or anything. It's strong when you come down to it, but if you see yourself playing to the bottom side, you're not going to see it as crazy support. You're going to see it as crazy resistance. So it's the same as any other kind of strong spot. So outside of this, I don't really have a specific view on anything besides I think this was a pretty good spot to get in, and the short spot is pretty evident and it hasn't changed whatsoever at all. And like I was saying here is I think the main thing is we just have to see like where the market opens um, to really see a continuation of this. And that kind of brings us back to Apple here, where I think we really need to wait and see where we open tomorrow. This post-market influences nothing. I literally don't care about post-market whatsoever at all. I don't care about anything, even in pre-market, unless it's an incredibly high deviation from where the price currently is, or um, or we're like maybe an hour and 30 minutes to 30 minutes away from the market opening. And even then, like this could start here. This could be like here at 9:15, then 9:30 market opens, we could be here. And I'd still think we're going to push down from that perspective. So I put a lot of weight on where we start. That's kind of the simplest thing about that. We can check VIX. Nothing really crazy on the VIX. Everything's still all the way up here. 4 hours are down there. The days are down here. Just kind of is what it is. I don't really want to look at these. I really don't care. It just seems Apple's the easiest way to kind of get a gauge on these. So I just don't see any reason to. The dollar index is doing what it does. It's pretty ugly, but it's pretty all over the place. I don't really see a reason to kind of inspect it whatsoever at all. It doesn't do me any good. So I'm not going to refer to this either as well. I mean, this has been some of like the ugliest stuff I've seen in a while. And while it is holding pretty well within this range since October 2nd, like a little after it came out, or it opened on Saturday or whatnot, or Sunday, it's still just kind of like all over the place. On the macro terms, it looks still bad. It still looks bad. And I think there's a decent chance we could be heading down, but I'd rather just, I don't care. If the market was to turn around and drop, this thing is going to just shoot up. So I literally do not give two craps about this. It's so unimportant to me right now. Let's see, USD WTI probably in the similar place. Still looking for not a good start to the day, not horrible. It could come all the way back down. I don't care about it really in this range whatsoever. If someone wanted to pick something up, you weren't even able to because it opened up here. Like before the market was even trading, right? You can't, or maybe you can on some plays. So this would have made sense on some places. There's a couple reasons I don't like it. Well, I want to see it come up here, and then I expect it to start making some movements up. why I don't like it where it currently is still is that we had a slightly or a fairly weak start to the week and the month. We can see here we started right under the week time frame. We pushed up through. I mean, it doesn't matter really, but it's just like it shows weakness, and so we do have something turn around. This is going to get destroyed down through here, and then we can also see on the month that it also started right under the month. And the reason why, like an easy kind of explanation or example that we can see is Apple not too long ago. Weak start, got sold all the way back down. Weak start, and look how hard this got sold down. So, same principle there. I kind of want to end it here because the more things I show, the more I actually have to, more timestamps I have to put in my video, and it's kind of annoying. To me, this looks pretty horrible. We got our start after. Oh my gosh, what did I do? I held the space bar. So let's look at this real quick. Huh? 1 second. There should be another one, unless I deleted the other line. There we go. Okay. So we look at this. This looks like it's on a cliff real quick, and this is a pretty ugly start for what it's worth. It's big overextension. We didn't come back and touch this, but a big overextension. These things I don't like until we get a day that starts above here. The big issue is that we have this trend line. We can still see these same ranges as I was talking about before, but it's got to deal with a lot of this stuff. I think there's a lot higher chance that we do see Ethereum to Bitcoin kind of drop off a cliff here. And the other thing, the key thing is if that Bitcoin really does push off from where it is, this doesn't mean Ethereum's going to drop, but if Bitcoin really does push off where it is, it's not going to make anywhere near the gains that it needs to make. And that's kind of a problem. So we'll kind of see what happens. Bitcoin's not out of the woods yet. We're really just looking at direction from Apple. We could see the buy point yesterday, essentially, when we completely failed to hit the week time frame, and then we also had 2 and 4 hour support right under us. So it makes sense to just wait for that to try to look for another push down. The biggest short target's really starting a week under 18K, and we'll see kind of what happens then. And there's no point. Like I mean that's like the clearest thing. I even said this chat the other day. It's like the clearest point about this is there's just no reason to short this. Like until it comes under here, there's no reason to short it. It's literally just that simple. And it doesn't mean we're going to shoot up to the moon, but it generally means we're going to at least push up because everyone that sees then on that week change or whatever they're looking at, for me, it wasn't where the week changed. It's just the fact that, well, we're not going to hit the target we wanted by the weekend, and we're going to need another 7 days to be able to hit that target. Therefore, it doesn't make sense if you're looking for something by the end of the week to keep looking for it. So even if you're not going to have it shoot up, you're going to have shorters get out of their positions, or people that might have been hoping for that stuff get out of their positions when they check and reassess, which just seems to make a lot of sense. I don't really think there's a lot of other stuff that I really care to look at, to be honest. Mara started up again and came down to its spot. That's really nice. Um, Very fortunate that this actually came all the way back down. Came a little bit lower, but I mean, it's very fortunate that it came back down. That was very nice. Um, I don't know if I care about anything else or if there's anything else that's interesting. Tesla's getting wrecked. Ugh, I don't want to talk about this. I'm gonna have to like put a timestamp in the thing, and I don't feel like it. Let's see. I mean, most things can kind of be looked at this. Ooh, what's actually interesting that we could kind of end this with is Ripple. I actually haven't checked Ripple in a little bit. Because for what I wanted to see on Ripple was essentially like we have our week 200 right here. I wanted to see a week start above. And it looks like we've just been, yeah, we started under. Was this yesterday? No. So this was yesterday's Sunday change. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. This really doesn't look pretty. 12-hour change above here. Maybe we see something, but we can see this is a pretty heavy place right here, especially with these wicks, these little feelers. I still really only like this maybe here, but really I'd still like to see this week start above. So we can get something going here, here, here throughout the week. What is it, the 10th or something? I don't even remember. 8th, 9th, so the 10th switch over. I'm not sure how this works. Okay, yeah, so it's going to be the 9th here because we're on the 12-hour, not the day. So it's going to be the 9. So it's going to be right here. So if we could see something like this, and then we're trending up, and then we end the week here, that'd be great. But I'd only like it if we see a 12-hour end above here somewhere in the beginning of the week and then that. So anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9:15. We'll get back to this again. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we have a little bit better buying and not just stupid buying where it just gets bought up indiscriminately. All right, take care, y'all. Have a good day. I think we'll leave it on the 1 hour. It's most